Hello and welcome to The Hero's Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of June 24th, 2023, a date of marriage of 2000. She says that he is a boomerang. I'm thinking maybe clinging a little. We'll talk about that. And that he's a high-energy replayer. She says, I'm so confused about my MLCer. It seems like he's cycling. He comes and goes. He's currently staying with a male friend. 2 weeks ago, he came home for 4 days, and he slept on the couch, and that annoyed me. The first day he was home, I sat downstairs, and we watched movies together. He seemed depressed. He spoke only when spoken to the entire time he was home. He constantly stares at me. I'm not sure why. It seems as though he didn't want to be bothered. He probably didn't. My daughter went to speak to him and he told her not right now, which she was very offended by that. The last night he came around 7. He said hi. He sat in the dark and eventually he turned the TV on. I went upstairs because, again, I didn't want to bother him. At 10 o'clock I went downstairs and he was gone. He just walked out. I called to ask if he left and he said yes, he is an early start. Our anniversary was November 4th. And he didn't contact me, and that made me sad and emotional. There hasn't been any contact since he left this last time, I'm assuming. What should I do? I miss him, and this is so hard. Okay, you're right. He's cycling. And here's why I say he's more of a clinging boomerang. He came home and stayed for 4 days. He might not have the capacity right now to show those emotions. When I wrote the Clinging Boomerang protocol, I was looking at my husband, Chuck, and he was very verbal about what he wanted and how he needed a lot of reassurance from me. And so I consider him an extreme clinging boomerang. They're not all going to be that verbal, but you have an action. The action is he's there, physically there. Maybe he's not mentally there. Maybe he's checked out. But he physically came and stayed for 4 days. And he slept on the couch. And I'm in some ways guessing no to this, but did he communicate with you? Was there any back and forth communication about him coming home? Or did he just show up in the door and start sleeping on the couch? Or did he say, hey, I'm here? Did he say, I need a place to crash for a few days? What did you know was even going on during that 4 days? So he doesn't have a place to stay anyway. He's staying with someone. Let's look. The first day he was home, he sat down and watched TV, and he stared at you a lot. He's looking at you going, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What's wrong with me? He's looking at you saying, why am I giving this up? Is she as bad as I'm saying she is? No. He doesn't know what's wrong with him because he sees you and it doesn't make any sense. His actions don't make sense and he doesn't understand. And why should he? It's not something that we understand because it doesn't make sense unless you look at it from the something is wrong with me. And he's taking that conclusion. But knowing that something is not going well or right with you doesn't mean you have a solution to it. So just because you know what a problem is, doesn't mean you know how to solve the problem. Just because you know what a problem is doesn't mean you know how you got to the problem either. What if you wake up in the morning and there's a bruise on you? Well, maybe you knocked yourself in the middle of the night. Let's make it innocent. But you wake up or you were sleepwalking, you stub your toe, you have no memory. You don't know. You know what the problem is. I have a stubbed toe or I have a bruise. You don't know how you got the problem. Hopefully you know how to solve a stub more. But you don't always know the root, how it was caused. You just know there's a problem. Something isn't right. And you don't know what to do about it. He's confused. He comes home because it is a comfort place for him. But he doesn't know how to be there. He doesn't know how to be anywhere. He doesn't know how to be in his own skin. And if you don't know how to be in your own skin, you're uncomfortable anywhere you are because try escaping your skin. Literally. You can't do that. And he's depressed. He doesn't want to interact. He doesn't, and it's not even a desire or lack thereof. It's a inability to interact. He no longer right now knows how. And what do I mean by that to somebody who has the skills for communicating and socialization? It means he's been hijacked by his chemicals in his brain. It means that whatever is root, is there some trauma response that is going on? What kicked this off? He's been hijacked. And so some of his former abilities aren't there right now. If you were to scan his brain, maybe, I don't know, but I'm guessing, maybe some of his language capacities wouldn't be there to the same degree. So he doesn't have that ability to communicate. So what can he do when somebody tries to communicate and get him to speak? He has words, but not the right ones. And sometimes you can't even say, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say right now. Just the words, I don't know what to say, might be in his head, but they can't even come through his mouth because of the way the brain is processing it, and it's been hijacked. Okay? So what you're looking at, some of this, is he doesn't have the ability. You're right about that. He just doesn't have it. What do you do with that information? Because you can't save him from this for a few reasons. Number one, he's not going to let you. Or the way you save him from it is by doing what I said previously to you, is putting your marriage in a box, and you put it there, and you move forward with your life. You don't cut him out of your life. You embrace him into it. But when he doesn't embrace back, when he isn't reciprocal, like, hi, and you smile, and he doesn't mirror your smile, it's okay. That's where I want you to have the empathy, is he doesn't have the ability. But he sees that inside. The prisoner sitting up there watching outside here, inside his brain, is like, comforted, reassured, feels safe, feels there's something stable that I can grab onto. And so you are, even if he doesn't communicate it to you, you are a comfort in the storm. So you may not be getting, this is what's hard, you may not get the feedback you need to stay the course. That's why we're here. That's why we've got others in the forum that have gone through it. Because we can tell you, you be grace. You show empathy. And the most important is you focus and thrive on yourself, and your daughter. You are there for your children so that they have the most stable environment that is possible in this context. There's going to be hardship. We can't avoid it. That's life. But you're teaching your children that we get through these things. Because imagine that they had nothing happen terrible in their lives, and then they get to an adult and they have something terrible. The good thing about that would be that they may have higher resiliency because they didn't have so many traumas that they were hijacked. Their brain was hijacked early on and affected them in such a negative manner. The other side, though, is we need to have a balance of learning to handle problems and get through challenges. And that's what you're teaching them now. You're teaching your daughter grace and empathy. You're teaching your daughter resilience. You're teaching your daughter how to maintain stability. And we're going on empathy. So he comes home. I don't want you to have any expectations. Sit with him and watch TV. Or don't. It's great to be there, but don't have an expectation that he's going to interact. And when you are feeling the need for interaction, you have to get it somewhere else. I don't mean dating someone else. I just mean friends. I mean find other ways to stimulate you personally, other than through the relationship with your husband. Because that's going to be gone for a while. You are now the wife of a sick person. And I mean sick. Depression is a pathology. And he doesn't get it. And he's afraid of it. And he's afraid of it because he sees you. He stares at you constantly. And he doesn't want to be bothered because, for one, you're so confused that I think sometimes when you're bothering him, the why comes out. And if you have refrained from literally saying why, I sense it in your writing. I sense it. When you say, I miss him and this is so hard. When you say, what should I do? When you're confused about these things. And they are confusing, trust me. But I sense the why. And so even without the verbal why coming through you, he may sense that also. And he doesn't have an answer because he doesn't know why. What I want you to do is believe in him. I want him to know that he has somebody who is just there for him because you love him, you care about him. Doesn't mean you care for him. And by for, I mean, it doesn't mean you do the actions for him, such as being his crutch. That would be an enabler. You care about him. So sometimes we give a helping hand. Where's the camera? We give a helping hand. Sometimes we do this. Right now, this is the cheerleader. If it comes time, and there's a time where he actually needed you to pick him up, you could do that, but you have to be very careful of that because that crosses so quickly toward enabling. I want you to do the believing in him because having somebody else believe in us helps us believe in ourselves. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to be right away. Remember, midlife crisis takes 3 to upwards of 7 years. And you are in it you're in it what, 4 months now? Sorry. You need to do what you can for yourself. Because if you don't get yourself healed and get yourself functional and then move forward toward detachment and thriving, it's not going to work for him, for the relationship anyway. You have to be healed to be able to do what I'm saying to do, to be able to focus on yourself, to be able to have the confidence to believe in him without bothering him about it, without the why in you. Right now, the why is midlife crisis. And that's a general why. His personal why is his personal backstory. Whatever is in his history as to why he was susceptible to a midlife crisis. It's going to be hard. I'm sorry, it's going to be hard. Okay? So stick with the forums and getting more information that you can and the support you can. And work on healing yourself so that you can just simply be calm and comfortable with him sitting there and be a calm, comforting presence where you don't actually have to interact, where you don't have to. Sometimes it's just a wordless evening and you're there. And sometimes, let's say you're close next to each other, sometimes you can put a hand on his knee and you're sitting next to each other on the couch while watching TV. Sometimes he's there alone and he wants to be alone and you're in the kitchen or you go up to your room. And it might be that way for a while. He might not communicate any of this. I'm sorry, but I do hope this is helpful. And I will see everybody in the next question.